And we are back with part 4 of this week's reading of the Messianic Jewish Family Bible, Tree of Life Version, TLV. And we are finishing up the book of Leviticus this week, and we're doing chapters 16 through 27. And we are now at part 4 and beginning the next Torah portion, which is Parashat Emor, Emor, and beginning chapter 21. Holiness Code for Kohanim. So this is the holiness code for the priests. If you look at what's happening today with some of the priests, it's like they're not so holy. So anyway, God actually spelled out what he desired to be holy. So, and we're going to talk about that in this chapter. Then Adonai said to Moses, "Speak to the Kohanim, the sons of Aaron, and say to them, a Kohen is not to allow himself to become unclean for the dead among his people, except for his relatives that are nearest to him, his mother, his father, his son, his daughter, his brother, or his virgin sister who is near to him, who is no husband. For her he may allow himself to become unclean, but he is not to defile himself, a husband among his people, and so profane himself. Kohanim are not to shave their heads." What he was just addressing is if somebody died among the people, because if you touch a dead person, you're considered unclean. But these are the exceptions to whom the priest can touch. Okay, now we're getting into other rules for the Kohanim. The Kohanim are not to shave their heads, nor shave off the corners of their beards, nor make any cuttings in their flesh. They are to be holy to their God and not profane the name of their God, for they present the offerings of Adonai made by fire, the bread of their God. Therefore, they are to be holy. They are not to marry women who are defiled as prostitutes or profane. Neither should they marry women divorced from their husbands, for her Kohen is to be holy to his God. Therefore you are to sanctify him, because he offers the bread of your God. He shall be holy to you, for I, Adonai, who sanctifies you, am holy. The daughter of any Kohen, so he gave orders as to the types of women that they're not to marry, so they knew who they could marry. The daughter of any Kohen, if she profanes herself by playing the prostitute, profanes her father. She is to be burned with fire. He who is the Kohen Gadol, high priest, among his brothers, upon whose head the anointing oil is poured and is consecrated to put on the garments, is not to let the hair of his head hang loose or tear his clothes, nor should he go near any dead person defiling himself, even for his father or his mother. He is not to go out of the sanctuary or profane the sanctuary of his God, for the crown of the anointing oil of his God is upon him. I am Adonai. He should take a wife in her virginity, a widow, or one divorced, or one who has been defiled as a prostitute he is not to marry. He is to take a virgin from his own people as a wife, so as to not corrupt his offspring among his people, for I am Adonai who sanctifies him. Adonai spoke to Moses, saying, "Say to Aaron, none of your offspring throughout their generations who has a defect may approach to offer the food of his God. Any man who has a defect is not to draw near, no one blind or lame or disfigured or deformed, or a man who has a crippled foot or a crippled hand or a hunchback or a dwarf, or who has an eye defect or a rash or scabs or has damaged testicles. None of the offspring of Aaron, the Kohen who has a defect, should come near to present the offerings of Adonai made by fire. Since he has a defect, he is not to come near to offer the food of his God. He may eat the food of his God, both from the holy and the holy, both from the most holy and the holy, but he is not to approach the curtain or come near the altar because of the defect on him, so that he may not desecrate my sanctuaries, for I am Adonai who sanctifies them. So Moses spoke to Aaron and to his sons and to all Bani Israel. So that's the end of chapter 21. And recapping that, the sanctity of the priesthood is addressed and established that the priests should not defile themselves, and neither should their families. Blemishes are discussed and how to handle it. So now we're going to go on to chapter 22. Adonai spoke to Moses, saying, "Tell Aaron and his sons to separate themselves from the holy things of Bani Israel, which they consecrate to me, so that they would not profane my holy name. I am Adonai. Tell them, if anyone of all of your offspring throughout your generations approaches the holy things which Bani Israel consecrate to Adonai while in the state of uncleanness, that soul will be cut off from me. I am Adonai. None of the offspring of Aaron who has Sa'arot, leprosy, or has a discharge should eat of the holy things until he is clean. Whoever touches anything that is unclean by the dead, or a man whose seed discharges from him, or who touches any creeping thing that may make him unclean, or a person who is unclean, whatever his uncleanness, the person who touches any such thing will be unclean until the evening, and is not to eat of the holy things unless he has bathed his body in water. When the sun sets, he will become clean, and afterward he may eat of the holy things, because it is his food. A carcass, or what is torn by beasts, he is not to eat, becoming unclean by it. I am Adonai. Therefore Kohanim shall keep my charge, so that they do not become guilty of sin, and die shall they profane it. I am Adonai, who sanctifies them. No layman is to eat from the holy offering. A foreigner living with the Kohanim or a hired servant is not to eat from the holy offering. But if a Kohen buys a slave purchased by his money, that one may eat from it. Also, those born in his house may eat his food. If a Kohen's daughter is married to a layman, she is not to eat from the gift of the holy offering. But if a Kohen's daughter is a widow or divorced and has no child and has returned to her father's house, as in her youth, she may eat from her father's food, but no layman may eat any of it. If anyone eats something holy unwittingly, then he is to add a fifth to it and give the holy offering to the Kohen. They are not to profane the holy offerings of Bani Israel, which they lift up to Adonai, so causing them to bear iniquity that brings guilt when they eat the holy offerings. For I am Adonai, who sanctifies them. Adonai spoke to Moses, saying, "Speak to Aaron and to his sons and to Bani Israel, and say to them, whoever is from the house of Israel, or one of the outsiders in Israel, who brings his offering, whether it be any of their vows or any of their free will offerings that they present to Adonai for a burnt offering, for you to be accepted, you are to offer a male without blemish from the bulls, the sheep, or the goats. But whatever has a blemish, you are not to present, for it will not be acceptable on your behalf. Whoever brings a sacrifice or of fellowship offerings to Adonai to fulfill a vow, or for a freewill offering, either from the herd or the flock, it must be unblemished to be accepted. There must be no defect on it. The blind, injured, maimed, having an abnormal growth or festering or a running sore, or not to be offered to Adonai, or given as an offering by fire on the altar to Adonai. For free will offering, you may present a bull or a lamb that has any deformity or lacking in its parts, but for a vow, it is not to be accepted. Whatever has its testicles bruised, crushed, broken, or cut, you are not to offer to Adonai, nor are you to do it in your own land. Moreover, you are not to offer the food of your God from the hand of an outsider from any of these animals, for their corruption is within them. They have a defect. They will not be accepted on your behalf. Adonai spoke to Moses, saying, when a bull, a sheep, or a goat is born, then it is to remain 7 days with its mother, and from the 8th day onward it will be accepted as the gift of an offering made by fire to Adonai. If it is a cow or ewe, you are not to slaughter it along with its young, both in one day. When you offer a sacrifice of thanksgiving to Adonai, you are to present it so that you may be accepted. It is to be eaten on the same day. You are to leave none of it until the morning. I am Adonai. So you are to keep my mitzvot, commandments, and do them. I am Adonai. You must not profane my holy name, for I will be made holy among Bnei Israel. I am Adonai who makes you holy, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I am Adonai. So that is chapter 22. And we are going to recap that, and then we're going to get into the biblical feasts, which are fun. Okay, God tells Moses to tell Aaron and his sons to separate themselves and not profane themselves and not the holy name of God either. And in those things which are hallow unto God. So they need to not profane any of these. Holy things and circumstances are addressed in the second part of the chapter of 22. The sacrifices of blemished animals are discussed, and the sacrifice must not be crushed, bruised, or broken or cut, and can't be used for offerings in the land. So there can't be any broken bones. And it's very interesting to note that Yeshua did not have a broken bone. Okay, we are going to get into the biblical feasts in chapter 23. The feasts of the Lord are discussed in this chapter. These are appointed times. Again, not man-made holidays. These are the feasts of the Lord which shall be proclaimed a holy convocation. An offering is made by fire. And we need to, we'll address a lot of these, and I'll be recapping these as we go too. So I'm going to start with chapter 23, Biblical Feasts. The appointed times of Adonai. These are God's appointed times. And there's the Sabbath is also a weekly appointed time. Okay, then Adonai spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to Bnei Israel and tell them, These are the appointed Moedim of Adonai, which you are to proclaim to be holy convocations, my Moedim. And these are simply appointed times. And Moed, singularly, is appointed time, but Moedim are times, appointed times. Work may be done for 6 days, but the seventh day is a Shabbat, a solemn rest, a holy convocation. You are to do no work. It is a Shabbat to Adonai in all your dwellings. Then we have Pesach and the Feast of Matzah. So we have Pesach is Passover. These are the appointed feasts of Adonai, holy convocations which you are to proclaim in their appointed season. During the first month on the 14th day of the month in the evening is Adonai's Passover. On the 15th day of the same month is the feast of Matzah, of unleavened bread, to Adonai. So for 7 days you are to eat matzah. On the first day you are to have a holy convocation, and you should do no regular work. Instead, you are to present an offering made by fire to Adonai for 7 days. On the seventh day is a holy convocation when you are to do no regular work. I'm going to pause for just a second here. Every week from Friday sundown to Saturday sundown is Shabbat. So that is the Sabbath. And then we have these Moedim, these appointed times. And the next one that is coming, and we have Purim coming up. Well, actually, no, we had Purim. Um, Actually, we have Passover coming up, which will be, I think when this will be, I'm actually pre-recording this. That's why I'm kind of messed up here. I'm actually pre-recording, so I have this ready to go with my schedule being the way it is. I'm looking at where this is going to fall. Actually, yeah. this is going to fall right before the next appointed time, which the next Moedim is Passover, and that will be Passover Eve is April 7th. So Passover Day, the first day of Passover is the 8th. And then we have the Feast of Unleavened Bread, which goes for 7 days. And that starts actually the eve of is on the 8th. And it actually officially is the 9th to the 15th. So that's in April. So that's coming up. Bikurim, which is Bikkurim, and Shavuot is the next section. Adonai spoke to Moses, saying, "Speak to Bnei Israel and tell them, when you have come into the land which I give to you, and reap its harvest, then you are to bring the omer of the first fruits of your harvest to the Kohen. He is to wave the omer, which is spelled Omer, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. Um, Before Adonai to be accepted for you. On the morrow after the Shabbat, the Kohen is to wave it. On the day when you wave the Omer, you are to offer a male lamb without blemish, 1 year old, as a burnt offering to Adonai. The grain offering with which with with it, I'm getting tongue tied here. With it should be 2/10 of an ephah of fine flour mixed with oil, an offering made by fire to Adonai for a soothing aroma. Its drink offering with it should be 1/4 gallon of wine. You are not to eat bread, roasted grain, or fresh grain until this same day, until you have brought the offering of your God. It is a statute forever throughout your generations in all your dwellings. Forever means forever. Then you are to count from the morrow after the Shabbat, from the day that you brought the omer of the wave offering, 7 complete Shabbatot. Until the morrow after the 7th Shabbat, you are to count 50 days. We're counting 50 days to Pentecost, actually. And then present a new grain offering to Adonai. You are to bring out of your houses 2 loaves of bread for a wave offering made of 2/10 of an ephah of fine flour. They are to be baked with hametz, with leaven, yeast, as first fruits to Adonai. You are to present along with the bread 7 1-year-old lambs without blemish, 1 young bull, and 2 rams. They will become a burnt offering to Adonai with their meal offering and their drink offerings, an offering made by fire, a sweet aroma to Adonai. Also, you are to offer 1 male goat for a sin offering and a pair of year-old male lambs for a sacrifice of fellowship offerings. The Kohen is to wave them with the bread of its first fruits as a wave offering before Adonai with 2 lambs. They shall be holy to Adonai for the Kohen. You are to make a proclamation the same day that there is to be a holy convocation, and you should do no regular work. This is a statute forever in all your dwellings throughout your generations. Now, when you reap the harvest of your land, you are not to reap the furthest corners of your field or gather the gleanings of your harvest. Rather, you are to leave them for the poor and for the outsider. I am Adonai your God, and I am way over the counter limit here. So I'm going to pause it and come back with part 5.